A tragic incident in Fremont serves as a reminder about the dangers of walking on or near railroad tracks.
Not only is it dangerous, it's illegal. In the big story today, we have an update on the current investigation happening in Fremont and why some people would like to see more signs by the bridge. We also look at railroad trespassing deaths across the state and how Ohio compares to other states. Plus, what lawmakers on the state and national levels are doing to better protect people from railroads and the dangers associated with them. Trespassing deaths is our big story today.
Well, the investigation into the tragic train incident in Sandusky County is continuing today. A one-year-old girl is in a Toledo hospital after being rescued from the Sandusky River by a fisherman. The rest of her family, her mother, her grandmother, and a 5-year-old sister did not survive. They were on the Miles Newton Rail Bridge in Fremont when a train came through Sunday night. But the details about what the family was doing on the bridge at that time are still being investigated. Investigators say the family was in town from Indiana for a fishing trip.
Very, very sad, tragic situation. There's no words, anything that I can say that's going to make the situation better. We have a family, as you just pointed it out, that is going through what I couldn't describe as I don't know what could be worse than what this family is currently going through.
And while those investigators are still looking into the circumstances surrounding the deaths in Fremont, we know that it happened on the rail bridge on Hayes Avenue.
Now, officials in Fremont say there are no trespassing signs that are posted on the bridge, and 13 Action News reporter Brendan I is in Fremont today.
People in the area I spoke with said they don't normally see people walking along this trestle, but there aren't very many signs saying not to. However, there is one no trespassing sign before the trestle begins off the road. One Fremont resident I spoke with said those from the area know how active these tracks are, but those who are visiting might not be aware.
I have seen people walk across there. It's just a dangerous thing to do. You need some signage over there saying, no one allowed on the bridge.
Do you think that would have helped what happened?
I think it would have. I really do. Some big signs.
And the memorial here at the base of the bridge continues to grow as the investigation into what happened continues. The NTSB is part of the investigation. In Fremont, Brennan I, 13 Action News.
And the tragedy in Fremont goes to show why walking on railroad tracks is dangerous and illegal. According to the Federal Railroad Administration, trespassing is the leading cause of rail-related deaths in the United States. Every year, more than 500 trespassing deaths happen on rail property.
So let's take a look at the rail trespassing incidents in Ohio over the last 5 years. That does not include the incident that happened in Fremont. So far this year, there has been 1 death and 3 injuries. In 2024, there were 15 deaths and 20 injuries. In 2023, 12 deaths and 12 injuries. In 2022, there were 14 deaths and 10 injuries. And all the way back 5 years ago in 2021, 14 deaths and 20 injuries.
According to Operation Lifesaver, an industry-supported nonprofit that conducts railroad safety programming, Ohio ranks 10th for most railroad trespassing casualties among all states. The top 5 states as of May 5th consisted of California at the top with 320 deaths and injuries, and that was more than double the number of Texas, which was ranked 2nd, and it had 132 casualties. It's followed by Florida, New York, and Illinois.
Now, according to the U.S. Department of Transportation, it is illegal to enter any private railroad property with the exception of a designated pedestrian or a road crossing. Those with Operation Lifesaver say one thing the public may not realize is that the trains are actually wider than the distance between the rails or even the length of the ties beneath them. Metal banding and straps used to secure lumber, steel, and other products on open rail cars, as well as the loads themselves, if they shift during transport, can also be a hazard for people who might find themselves too close to the tracks.
In 2023, our national investigative team found some children in some parts of the U.S. were forced to climb under and over rail cars to get to school. In this video that you see here, it's from an Indiana city where local, state, and federal leaders started calling for action to better protect children in that community. In the initial aftermath of our reporting, there have been attempts at change, both big and small. The Indiana city secured a federal grant in 2023 for construction of a new overpass aimed at lessening the impact of frequent and prolonged blockages caused by those stopped trains. The original grant was for a pedestrian bridge over the Norfolk Southern crossing. However, now additional grant money from the state of Indiana expanded the scope of the project and moved it about a mile away from that problematic crossing. Critics say it does not solve the original issue of children trying to get to school.
Well, that situation in Indiana started a movement nationwide, with this video prompting lawmakers to act. In 2023, Senator Raphael Warnock from Georgia added critical amendments related to block crossings to a Senate railway safety bill. That bill then got stalled in the Senate and failed to pass. Now, Congressman Michael Rulli, representing Ohio District 6, and several other Congress members are rolling out their bipartisan rail safety legislation of 2025. In fact, it was introduced in the House in February of this year. The updated proposal builds off the 2023 version to institute a requirement for wayside detectors, to increase fines for any wrongdoing committed by the rail carriers, and enhance safety procedures for any trains that are carrying hazardous materials. It also would establish a permanent requirement for railroads to operate with at least two-person crews. Right now, it's in a subcommittee on railroads, pipelines, and hazardous materials. And back in 2023, the then Transportation Secretary, Pete Buttigieg, said that passing legislation that adds new layers of protection to people impacted by the rail industry should be a top priority for Congress. In fact, he adds it's critical to keep up the pressure.
No child anywhere in America should have to navigate a train, whether it's moving or whether it's still. They shouldn't have to navigate it in the first place. This should not be their problem. We owe it to kids and we owe it to communities to make sure that they are protected. And by the way, so do the railroads.
In 2023, Norfolk Southern also launched an initiative to engage with communities that are impacted by blocked crossings or other issues. The company saying that at the time, its director of public engagement was working to find solutions and then monitor their implementation. Of course, we will stay up on top of the situation unfolding in Fremont. As more information is released, you can find it on the 13 Action News app. It is available as a free download in your phone's app store.